When this court session started, I thought it was just a simple child support case. But within 30 seconds, this happened. One person said, "He poked holes in the condom." Another claimed, "I shot him in the," and a third calmly argued, "Little Debbie cakes are enough for 4 kids." The judge lectured them about neck rolling. They argued over a trust fund, and somehow medical bills got thrown in. And that was only the first half. You have to see the rest to believe it. The dispute began over money, but the judge quickly redirected attention to a more serious matter gun. Addressing Mr. Tommy, the judge asked for clarity. Tommy explained that the case should have been resolved long ago but had been delayed multiple times. As the exchange grew tense, the judge firmly intervened, reminding both parties that she alone would be asking questions and that emotions, especially when children and money are involved, must be kept under control. After brief apologies, Tommy continued, stating that the other party had once given him money. Though he could not recall the exact amount, he confirmed they share 2 children, who are currently in his care, and added that he is enrolled full-time at an excellent film school. Tommy admitted that while his trust fund had supported his expenses, including his film school tuition, the funds were running out, and he feared he might struggle to provide for his 2 children, especially since they had expressed interest in pursuing the same costly career path he had chosen. When asked if the tuition was paid from the trust, he confirmed it was. The judge then turned to the children's mother, who explained that she believed Tommy should not have custody at all, claiming he only had the children because of his parents and their trust fund. She argued the case had been delayed for 6 months because he was spoiled and financially dependent, adding that she herself was financially stable with a pension and retirement savings. When pressed by the judge, she clarified that her real frustration came from feeling deceived early in their relationships. Specifically, she alleged that Tommy had intentionally tampered with birth control, resulting in her pregnancy. The children's mother claimed she had originally been their primary caregiver, but lost custody after Tommy and his family, backed by his trust fund, allegedly lied in court. She said the drawn-out 6-month delay was due to repeated custody battles and added that Tommy had even filed a case against her after she shot him. She explained the shooting happened during a heated conflict, claiming he had shot her in the leg first, prompting her to fire back. The judge, clearly exasperated, halted the argument, admonishing both parents for their behavior and warning them never to act like this in front of their children. She stressed that having a gun did not give anyone the right to use it recklessly, regardless of where the bullet landed. Redirecting the discussion, the judge focused on financial matters, noting that the mother's pension and retirement could factor into child support considerations. When asked if she had only given Tommy money once, as he claimed, she firmly denied it. The mother stated she had given Tommy a total of about $3,000. Regardless of whether it was in one payment or several, when asked about her income, she reported earning $57,000 annually and covering the children's health insurance at a cost of $63 per month. The judge cautioned both parents to stop interrupting each other and focus on the calculations. Based on her income and insurance contribution, the judge determined her monthly net income to be $3,864, which set the child support payment at $966.21 per month. The mother protested, saying she risked her life every day at her job and resented paying support to someone she considered undeserving, insisting the children should be with her. The judge acknowledged her dedication to public service, but reminded her that child support is about ensuring the children's safety and well-being, regardless of which parent has custody. The judge explained that the mother's monthly child support obligation would be $966.21, but because the case had been delayed largely due to her actions, the support would be made retroactive for 6 months. After crediting her with the $3,000 she had already provided, the judge calculated that she owed $2,448 in back pay, payable at $55 a month. This amount, added to her ongoing obligation, brought her total monthly payment to $1,212.21. When the mother reacted with disbelief, the judge reminded her that she had a pension and retirement savings to draw from. The judge then asked if either party had anything further to add. Tommy declined, while the mother said she only wanted to ensure her children received the money and not fund his education. The judge firmly dismissed unrelated personal comments, emphasizing that the matter was solely about the children, who were currently in Tommy's care, and that she would be responsible for supporting them in the second case. Ms. Brown explained that her sister, Jazz, regularly left her for children in Ms. Brown's care. Ms. Brown, who has only one child of her own, said she now housed and cared for all 4 of her sister's children most of the time effectively for the past 3 years. Despite this, Jazz had not provided any meaningful child support, occasionally offering only $20 for all 4 children. When the judge asked about health insurance, Ms. Brown confirmed that the children had none, but said she could enroll them through her employer if ordered to do so. Ms. Brown, who works for an advertising firm, estimated it would cost around $250 a month to provide health insurance for all 4 children through her employer. When the judge turned to Jazz for her side, she acknowledged the children were hers but said she was focused on building her career as a singer, often performing at clubs every night. The judge quickly dismissed her offer to sing in court and reminded her that raising 4 children required more than occasional $20 contributions or dropping off snacks like Little Debbie cakes. Jazz defended her actions, claiming the snacks were sufficient for children aged 5, 4, and 3, though she struggled to remember the exact ages. The judge pointed out that her sister had been the one consistently providing for the children and advised Jazz to find ways to earn more income, noting that her current efforts were inadequate to meet the needs of 4 young children. Jazz admitted she earned about $300 a week from doing nails on the side, but gave her sister only small ammos, sometimes just $20 for the care of her 4 children. The judge called this unacceptable, pointing out that occasional cash and snack cakes did not constitute proper support. She reminded Jazz that it was not her sister's responsibility to raise her children and that leaving them in her care should have involved an agreement, especially since it meant adding 4 more children to the household. The judge made it clear that Jazz would be ordered to pay real child support, far more than the token amounts she had been providing. When asked about a tax return that had been filed, Jazz revealed it was prepared by her last baby daddy, prompting further scrutiny from the court. When the judge asked about her income, Jazz said she earned around $30,000 a year, a figure reported on her tax return, which had been prepared by her last baby daddy, a man she described as experienced in doing taxes. As the judge calculated her gross income at $2,500 a month, she noticed Jazz painting her nails in court and quickly ordered her to stop and pay attention. Based on her income, the judge determined her net at $2,040 and, factoring in $250 for health insurance, set her child support obligation for 4 children at $951 a month, far more than the $20 she had been offering. Jazz protested she couldn't afford it, but the judge pointed out that her social media showed her spending freely at clubs. Dismissing her excuses, the judge told her that as an up-and-coming artist, she might one day be successful, but in the meantime, she still had to meet her responsibilities as a parent. In the third case, Mrs. Cheney explained that she and the defendant had been friends who went out for drinks to celebrate her promotion. After everyone else left, they stayed behind, drank too much, and she eventually became pregnant. For the first 18 months of their child's life, he ignored her calls and texts, only reappearing when he decided he wanted to be involved. She told him that would require child support, but he offered instead to pay the daycare bill of $855 a month, claiming he earned only $24,000 a year, nearly half his income if his claim were true. Mrs. Cheney doubted his story, pointing to his expensive-looking suit as evidence, though he insisted it was bought on clearance. The judge acknowledged the suit's quality with a touch of humor before confirming his stated income and requesting his tax documents. The defendant confirmed that he was self-employed, prepared his own tax returns, and reported an annual income of $24,000, insisting the figure was accurate. He explained that he lived in a shared apartment because nearly half his monthly income went toward paying the $855 daycare bill for their child, leaving him unable to afford his own place. Household expenses, he said, were split evenly with roommates. Mrs. Cheney argued that it seemed suspicious he could consistently afford such a high daycare payment but refused to contribute regular child support, suggesting something was being hidden about his finances. When asked directly, she clarified she wanted to find a fair arrangement that included both the daycare cost and a reasonable child support amount, emphasizing that her higher income did not mean she should shoulder all of their child's expenses. The judge explained to Mrs. Cheney that, legally, the father could not be ordered to pay both full daycare costs and child support at the same time, and pressed her to define a realistic middle ground. Mrs. Cheney said she would need to consider what portion of the $855 daycare bill could be covered as part of child support, and how parenting time, weekends, holidays, and other arrangements might be adjusted. The judge pointed out that, at his reported $24,000 annual income, child support for one child would be around $300 a month, and combining that with daycare would exceed $1,000 monthly. Mrs. Cheney admitted she was not necessarily asking for that total amount, but acknowledged she was unsure of the legal process and what options were available. As this was her first time seeking child support, she said her main goal was to find a workable arrangement that was fair and addressed the child's needs. Mrs. Cheney emphasized that the child's father had been entirely absent for the first year of their son's life, leaving her to cover every expense, including hospital bills after the birth. When asked why he had not provided any financial support at the time, he explained that his income, as a self-employed worker, had not improved since then, and that there had been a breakdown in communication between them. He admitted he should have stepped in sooner but insisted that by covering the full $855 monthly daycare cost, he was already paying more than required under the law for one child. The judge agreed that, based on his reported income, his current payments exceeded standard guidelines. Tensions flared briefly when Mrs. Cheney suggested there could be other women with children by him, prompting the judge to steer the conversation back to the matter at hand, determining support for their one confirmed child. The judge concluded that, based on the father's financial records, his child support for one child at 20% of his income would amount to approximately $349 per month. However, because he was already paying nearly 3 times that through the daycare bill, the court decided the fairest arrangement was to set his child support obligation at the daycare cost itself, $855 per month plus reimbursement for the $113 in health insurance premiums paid by Mrs. Cheney. This brought his total monthly obligation to $968. The judge clarified that if daycare costs increased in the future, he would still only be responsible for the $855, while health insurance could be provided through his job to eliminate the additional $113 expense. This ensured the child's daycare needs were met each month, while keeping the arrangement within the bounds of his income. The father clarified that he was already paying $855 a month in daycare, well above the $349 the judge had calculated under standard child support guidelines, and expressed concern about being required to continue paying more than double the guideline amount. The judge acknowledged his point but noted that, under Texas law, the court can deviate from guideline calculations when justified, and daycare expenses are one such reason. She emphasized that his payments ensured the child's care was consistently covered and that he had already been managing this amount while sharing expenses with roommates. However, she left room for flexibility, telling both parties they could agree to a reduced figure, such as $700 or $750, and return to court to have it modified. For now, the obligation would remain at $855 for daycare plus health insurance reimbursement, unless the parties reached a different agreement. With no further matters to address, the judge dismissed the case.